Hello, it's great to catch up with you guys. It's been a long semester, I know, but I want to take the time and talk to you about some essentials that you'll need for your data analysis when you're writing your dissertation. And by now, should be at a point where you kind of understand the different sections in your proposal and where you are in that process is going to vary. And you will eventually collect a huge amount of data pertaining to your subject. But it's important for you to be able to ascertain the choices that are right and the ones that are not appropriate for your dissertation. It should be noted that both words and numbers should be evaluated carefully. When you are writing, you have to make sure that the data collected by yourself is being analyzed in a competent and the most professional way possible. I'm just gonna give you some tips and some essentials. Appropriateness, you hear me say that quite often. So do not be tempted to blindly go with the data that you've collected. Moreover, all data provided should be pertinent to your objectives. Irrelevant data that will just showcases dearth of concentration and incoherence of thought, you should be able to think critically and understand the essence of time and understand that you don't have a lot of it and your readers most likely won't have a lot of analysis. It's essential that you apply methods pertinent to the type of data that you gather and the objective of your research. Ensure that you discuss and justify these methods just like you did when you were collecting your data. You have to make it clear to the readers that you have arrived at the results after the study was done thoroughly and after you have detailed your research and rationale. So I'm going to write 2 words on this. It's not a whiteboard, but I'm just going to write 2 words up here. Okay, I want to write this word. I want you to be able to focus on discussing and justifying. Discuss and justify. That's going to be important because what you want to do is you want to justify your methods. You want to tell me why you chose quantitative over qualitative or vice versa, or why you chose this specific population, or why you left out a certain population. Now, when it comes to quantitative and qualitative works, quantitative data calls for a well-versed statistical analysis, right? So if you're going to do quant, you're going to be all stats for the most part. It's not going to be any opinions. Nothing's going to be how someone feels. It's going to be your stats, the numbers. And data don't lie. Think about when you are gathering and evaluating your quantitative data, you'll be able to arrive at several conclusions, and they can go beyond the scope of your sample. So be careful with that. Qualitative data, though it's not numerical, it requires analysis of the data through a system of coding. So it can be a little bit more difficult because now we're trying to codify someone's opinion or how they're feeling, and we're putting them into sections, and we are doing our analysis off of coding as opposed to statistical outputs. So with the stats, your computer would do most of the work. With codifying, you'll be doing most of the work. My last piece of advice is be comprehensive, right? Do an extensive analysis of the data and by presenting total participation in a critical viewpoint. This is mainly in case of possible biases you want to avoid and sources of error, meaning non-scholarly work. You want to avoid those things. A thing of great concern is that you should be able to identify the limitations as well as the faults of your data. So you want to be able to acknowledge your limitations. Okay, and let us know, hey, this is a limitation. Let just be upfront about it, because if you're not upfront about it, then your committee and during proposal, or when you shouldn't even make it to defense without acknowledging your limitations. However, it's something that it's happened, okay? And it's not something that we want to make a habit of. So we want you to make sure that you identify your limitations. Okay, so finally, I want you to make sure that you can discuss your findings. Now, I know I said the last thing was the final piece of advice, but discussing your findings is something that has been a hang up for quite a few folks. And just make sure that you can make out the trends and patterns inside your data. You want to contemplate on several theoretical interpretations or conceptual frameworks and get a balanced view of the advantages and disadvantages of these various viewpoints, whatever they are. And with regard to discussion, make sure that the main points that crop up are done after your data analysis. So overall, you need your dissertation proposal to not just assist you in coming out in flying colors in your PhD program or your master's program, but also opened prospective doors for you. So take the effort to maintain your data analysis chapter. Make sure that it's well written and keep in touch with your resources and any contacts that you make while collecting the data, because you can leverage them further in your career, particularly if you're a PhD, and also for a master's student seeking to go into the PhD program. Well, that's all I have for you tonight. And you have been wonderful. I'm glad to catch up with you again, and I'll talk to you later.